is January 6th. Welcome to Big Book Daily. My name is Rob. I am an alcoholic. It is a thrill, honor, and joy to be here with you today as we journey through the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous and the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions. Out of the Big Book today, we are going to read the Doctor's Opinion, Roman numeral 30. Out of the 12 and 12, well, we've actually read ahead a little bit, so we'll be skipping that today, but we will be reading the 24 hours a day and the daily reflection. So with that, hope you all are doing well this morning, my friends. Life is good over here. Once again, got a big old cup of coffee in the old Star Wars mug, so hey, we're thriving on the Force this morning. So with that, let's go ahead and get to the good stuff. All right, so if you recall from the Big Book, yesterday's reading, we were talking about the phenomenon of craving and the physical allergies. So we're going to expand on that a little bit on Roman numeral 30. There are many situations which arise out of the phenomenon of craving, which cause men to make the supreme sacrifice rather than to continue to fight. The classification of alcoholics seems most difficult, and in much detail is outside the scope of this book. There are, of course, the psychopaths who are emotionally unstable. We're all familiar with this type. They're always going on the wagon for keeps. They are over-remorseful and make many resolutions, but never a decision. There's the type of man who is unwilling to admit that he cannot take a drink. He plans various ways of drinking. He changes his brand or his environment. There's the type who always believes that after being entirely free from alcohol for a period of time, he can take a drink without danger. There's the manic-depressive type, who is, perhaps, the least understood by his friends, and about whom a whole chapter could be written. Then there are the types entirely normal in every respect, except in the effect that alcohol has upon them. They are often able, intelligent, friendly people. All these and many others have one symptom in common. They cannot start drinking without developing the phenomenon of craving. This phenomenon, as we have suggested, may be the manifestation of an allergy which differentiates these people and sets them apart as a distinct entity. It has never been, by any treatment with which we are familiar, permanently eradicated. The only relief that we have to suggest is entire abstinence. This immediately precipitates us into a seething cauldron of debate. Much has been written pro and con, but among physicians, the general opinion seems to be that most chronic alcoholics are doomed. "24 hours a day, January 6th. AA thought for the day. Keeping sober is the most important thing in my life. The most important decision I ever made was my decision to give up drinking. I am convinced that my whole life depends on not taking that first drink. Nothing in the world is as important to me as my own sobriety. Everything I have, my whole life, depends on that one thing. Can I afford to ever forget this, even for 1 minute? Meditation for the day. I will discipline myself. I will do this disciplining now. I will turn out all useless thoughts. I know that the goodness of my life is a necessary foundation for its usefulness. I will welcome this training, for without it, God cannot give me his power. I believe that this power is a mighty power when it is used the right way. Prayer for the day. I pray that I may face and accept whatever discipline is necessary. I pray that I may be fit to receive God's power in my life. Daily Reflection, January 6th. The Victory of Surrender. We perceive that only through utter defeat are we able to take our first step toward liberation and strength. Our admission of personal powerlessness finally turned out to be firm bedrock upon which happy and purposeful lives may be built. 12 Steps and 12 Traditions, page 21. When alcohol influenced every facet of my life, when bottles became the symbol of all of my self-indulgence and permissiveness, when I came to realize that, by myself, I could do nothing to overcome the power of alcohol, I realized that I had no recourse except surrender. In surrender, I found victory. Victory over my selfish self-indulgence. Victory over my stubborn resistance to life as it was given to me. When I stopped fighting anybody or anything, I started on the path to sobriety, serenity, and peace. Okay, my friends, that concludes today's reading. So first things first, out of the big book, when they start talking about the phenomenon of craving, I didn't know what that was, and I didn't quite understand that. But the more and more I read the big book, and they explained it even further, and of course in Doctor's Opinion, Silkworth explains it a little bit more too. But that for me was the equivalent of the obsession of the mind, where I just could not stop thinking about having that drink, escaping, where my whole life revolved around that drink. And, in the early days, how good that would make me feel when that alcohol crossed my lips and I swallowed it down and it hit my gut, and it was the answer for a long time. It made me feel so good. But then, later on in my life, it triggered the second part of what Dr. Silkworth talks about, and that is the physical allergy, which again, I thought, really? I'm literally allergic? And Joe and Charlie do a great job of kind of breaking down the science behind it, but it makes so much sense. Because as soon as that alcohol hit my body, especially later on in life, all I wanted was more. 1,000 drinks was just not enough. I just wanted more and more and more. And then the things I would do while drinking. All the selfish destruction, and I know somewhere in the big book talks about us being like a tornado, destroying everything in our path. That was me. That was me. I was hurting the people that I loved the most. And then when I would finally come to and realize all the destruction that I had done, all the selfish, self-centered behavior I displayed while drinking, all I wanted to do was drink some more so I could numb that pain and that guilt and that shame that I felt. And just perpetuate this horrible cycle, So that finally led to my rock bottom, or I guess I should say my bottom, not my rock bottom. I can always dig a little deeper. But that led to one of the worst days of my life. Actually, the worst day of my life. When all my lies had caught up with me, I was confronted by my wife, and she was going to take the kids and she was going to leave. That's when I knew, kind of to tie it into the daily reflection, that's when I knew I needed to surrender. As the big book just talked about, I tried controlling my drinking. I tried all these different methods, as I've said many times. It wasn't until I had to admit surrender and I can't do this alone, that as the daily reflection says right here, in surrender, I found victory. Victory over my selfish self-indulgence. Victory over my stubborn resistance to life as it was given to me. Seems like such an ironic paradox, right? In surrender, there is victory. But I am living proof of that. When I finally surrendered and I finally reached out for help, I finally went to some of these fellowships and asked for help. For a while, I would just go to the fellowship, right? And that was great for a little while. But then again, all that guilt and that shame, it all started to pile on. And this time I'm not drinking, right? I can't numb the pain. So finally it took me being active and be like, look, I need help. Can somebody please help me work through these steps? I don't even understand these steps. Could somebody help me work through them? So I found somebody that I trusted and respected. And sure enough, we'd meet at least once a week. We worked through the big book together. We would talk and we would pray together and work the steps together. But it all took me admitting I need help. But it's the best thing I've ever done. I don't get a lot of things right. But in that situation, I got that one right. And I think that was a little nudge from my higher power. But anyways, my friends, that's enough of my rambling for one day. I hope you all have a great day today. As always, I don't speak on behalf of AA or NA or Al-Anon, any other sect, denomination, or any other organization. I am just a guy, just a friend in this lifeboat of recovery, narrating these books. And it's an honor to be here. If you're sober, my friend, you're a miracle. And if you're not sober today, I hope you know that you're worthy of recovery. And then you have value and use, of course. I hope that you'll get the help that you need today. Believe it or not, there is victory in surrender. In this case. So guys, if we are given another set of 24 hours, I sincerely look forward to seeing you right back here tomorrow.